For those of you who don't know, I did a hotspot video on this, but it was with the, I didn't realize that the information I actually gave, at least in part, was what Israel was informing the media of. Now, of course, because at that point, and probably to this, actually, from what I've seen still to this day, the mainstream media did not cover it nor confirm it. They were able to give false information. Then when the information actually, the court dates and things like that, court date, all that stuff came out, it turns out that Israel had lied. So we're going to talk about that and also the implications of all of this, because it gets sketchier and sketchier. I didn't even get to go all the way down the rabbit hole the way I wanted to, because the more you go down the rabbit hole, the sketchier the shit gets. And this isn't new for anything to do with Israel, but it really is just making the US look more and more like Israel's bitch every day in the worst possible ways. Like, because we already got the situation with the Epstein client list, right? We got simultaneously, we have Trump pretending like he's doing this crackdown on DC because there's just this grandiose crime issue when DC doesn't even fall into the top 30 of most crime-ridden cities. Okay, and then so we got this pedo crime case, this pedo federal case, and Israel all wrapped up into one, and the federal government is failing us. Surprise, surprise. So, let's check out this article real quick. And nope, it's not going to be from MSNBC or Fox News because they don't want to talk about it. But it's a great article talking about the updates, or rather the revelations in this case. This is the question that everybody has on their minds. Still hasn't been answered, but we're going to talk about it. I think y'all can see this. Okay, yeah, y'all can see it. Why did a U.S. court let an Israeli cyber executive accused of pedophilia walk free on $10,000 bail? The executive arrested in Las Vegas during the Black Hat Conference was released on minimal bail and allowed to leave the country. Why did the senior executive in Israel's Cyber Security Directorate suspected of pedophilia in the United States and released on bail of only $10,000 return to Israel, even though he is scheduled to appear in court in Nevada in about a week and a half? Ladies and gentlemen, in the legal world, that is what we would call a flight risk. I mean, when I tell you a flight risk, like if you have a court case, especially a federal, like a felony or something, or a serious misdemeanor or multiple serious misdemeanors, like they don't even like to let you leave the state. They won't let you they don't even like to let you post bail and leave the city or the state because they consider you a flight risk. This man has a court date scheduled in a week, and they let him leave the country. Yeah. This is a big ass deal, y'all. This is just one of the troubling questions raised by the affair, which came to light over the weekend. Las Vegas police announced the arrest of 8 suspects in child sexual offenses in an operation conducted over the past 2 weeks in cooperation with the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and other law enforcement agencies, which makes this even crazier, right? Because as far as, the FBI, yeah, it could be your local FBI, but as far as the Department of Homeland Security is concerned, that means the Trump administration has gotten wind of it. And yeah, they do have the authority. The Justice Department does have the authority to step in these particular cases and be a little bit paternalistic and be like, hey, y'all, nah. You can't, we not letting you slide like that, dog. I mean, hell, we watched them literally confiscate Scott Ritter's passport while he was traveling, and they didn't even charge him with anything. It was like, yeah, we don't like the stuff that you might say. We know that the Department of Homeland Security has stopped other people, has interfered in other people's travels, like Americans' travels, they hadn't even committed a crime. They just were worried about something that they were going to say at a conference. This guy has been accused of committing a crime. They originally say he was just detained, but now, obviously, because we found out he posted bail, he was not detained. He was arrested. He was arrested, y'all. Because there is a difference between detained and arrested. There is a significant, which is why Israel, when they initially came out, they said it was detained. Yo, what's up, man? Yo, Niko, what's happening in Bolivia? Swinging right. Oh, I need to check that out. I don't know, but I will check it out. That's an important issue. I'm kind of surprised if they are swinging right legitimately. So the eight all face felony charges of luring a child with computer for sex act. Under Nevada law, this constitutes a Class B felony punishable by 1 to 10 years in prison. According to the announcement, one of those arrested is head of the National Cyber Security Directorate's Technological Defense Division. The officer was in laws. His name is Tom Alexandrovich. By the way, that position, I looked it up because I couldn't look, because everybody was like, yo, man, why is Netanyahu not saying anything? I'm like, well, I don't know if this is necessarily in his purview, because I thought like maybe it was a private agency that worked for the Israeli government, because, like we see that a lot within the US. No, this position is actually, or this institution is part of the Israeli government. It is part of Netanyahu's administration. And to make matters worse, Tom's job as executive director, he was handpicked by Netanyahu. Yeah, he won't voted on by the legislature. It wasn't like some process and then Netanyahu just signed some paperwork. No, he was handpicked by Netanyahu. Israel got so many pedophiles that literally they just picking pedophiles to be heads of departments at this point. And I don't know if it's on purpose or by accident, but I guess they don't even really ask questions because it's Israel, right? This is the country that don't ask questions about pedo. That's why you literally cannot throw a rock while blindfolded without accidentally hitting a pedo in Israel. This is facts. So the officer was in Las Vegas for the annual Black Hat Hacker Conference held from August 2nd to the 7th. They're just talking about his LinkedIn account right there. But court records from Clark County, Nevada show that the officer was brought before a judge on August 7th on suspicion of luring a child with computer for sex act. The court set bail at $10,000 and scheduled a further hearing. Okay, that was weird. Scheduled a further hearing before Judge Barbara Shifalakwa. That's a crazy last name. I'm going to assume that she's indigenous, but that is a crazy last name. The executive posted bail the same day and was released shortly thereafter. So for everybody to understand what this means, the judge usually sets the bail, the judge or the magistrate, but in this case, they were clear. The judge was Barbara Shifalakwa. She set the bail. That's a low bail for this situation. That's low for any felony case, but that's really low for a felony case in this situation with somebody who's a flight risk. She's also the one that had to approve him being allowed to go back to the country. So this judge should never have done this. And really, everybody should be on her head top. Now, I want to be clear. To my understanding, this is a district judge, which is actually somewhat strange, given the case. Okay. So, of course, she's probably answering to somebody else. But the judge is responsible for this. But it never, I'm going to explain in a second why it never actually should have gotten to her specifically. Somebody was dodging responsibility. I'm going to explain. But according to the Cyber Directorate, He returned to Israel on his originally scheduled flight and informed his superiors that he had been questioned by U.S. authorities during his trip. Following the incident, he went on leave by joint decision with the directorate. Leave. Yeah, we've seen that before, right? Whenever cops kill somebody that they ain't supposed to kill, and they go on leave voluntarily with pay, and then take their ass right back to work. They just go on extended vacation, basically. The affair raised difficult questions about the Prime Minister's office's response. Before the case was made public, the office issued a statement to the media. A civil servant who traveled to the United States on professional matters was questioned during his stay by the American authorities. The employee, who does not hold a diplomatic passport, so he doesn't have diplomatic immunity, was not arrested and returned to Israel on scheduled date. Y'all, do you hear what I'm saying, y'all? They went out of the way to say he wasn't arrested. He, in fact, was arrested. He was not detained. He was arrested. A judge set bail for him. Somebody paid the bail, which we don't know the answer to that question. And the judge allowed him to fly back to Israel. Now, there are a couple of things that don't add up. There are a couple things that don't add up. So in these cases, like I said before, in a case where somebody has a flight risk, especially when they don't have any connection to the country that they are in or the state that they're in, the bail is generally set higher if you are even granted bail. That's if you are even granted bail. And a lot of the times you just want to be granted bail. So there's that. Israel got caught lying again. The office of the prime minister got caught lying again. Or the Cyber Security Directorate lied. Or excuse me, the Cyber Security Executive Director lied to Israel. But will still be facing zero consequences because, according to Israel, they've come out and said that he will not face any political consequences as a result of this investigation. So there's that. This district judge just did one of the weirdest things that you could possibly do in a legal situation involving somebody who committed a felony. This just doesn't happen, y'all. I guarantee if they were from any other country, this wouldn't fly. And we need to know why the mainstream media isn't talking about any of this. But it gets even stranger, y'all. It gets even stranger. So in times like these, one looks for what the Attorney General of the state has to say about the situation. Naturally. Because, I mean, generally speaking, on felony cases that are considered high priority and especially high visibility, the Attorney General is usually a big part of the decision making on how it goes. Like, for example, we're gonna let this go down to the district, or am I gonna handle this? It's gonna go to a federal judge, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so let's first look at the person who's gonna be making, or who has already started making decisions, rather, on this case. Y'all gonna love this.
The radical left is burning down our country and attacking Jews in the streets, and Ilhan Omar is fanning the flames. I'm Sigal Chattah, an Israeli-born lawyer running to be America's #1 conservative attorney general. I'll stand up to Ilhan Omar and take her team to court for defunding our police, opening our borders, and teaching our kids to hate each other based on the color.
Yeah, that's really all you need to know. Y'all heard that correctly. The Israeli-born Attorney General. Y'all heard that correctly. The Israeli-born Attorney General from Nevada. Now, In a normal world, I would probably consider that like if things went down the way that they are going down at this point, and you found out that this isn't an Israeli born, as in has Israeli citizenship, as in has Israeli passport, as in can go back to Israel and return from Israel when and however they want to. If things went down the way they are going down, we would consider this a conflict of interest and somebody would step in. So let's just see how she's handling the situation so far. Because if there's a conflict of interest, I'm sure everybody will want to know, right? It's a pretty important job. I'm gonna laugh at this. So this is from the US Attorney Office. Last week, Tom Alexandrovich was arrested in Nevada in a Nevada Internet Crimes Against Children joint operation, and he was booked into Henderson Detention Center. This important multi-agency operation targeted child sex predators who preyed upon the most vulnerable members of our communities. As a result of the operation, the Clark County District Attorney's Office is handling the prosecution. Sigal Chhatta, U.S. Attorney. My apologies, not Attorney General, but U.S. Attorney. Yeah. So, what? He's like, you say all that. It's like, damn, it sounds pretty serious, right? This sounds like some federal shit. This sounds like some U.S., like United States, like because you got the FBI involved, Department of Homeland Security involved, local authorities, federal authorities. And you like, so in conclusion, yeah, we're going to kick this shit down the district. I don't want nothing to do with it. How is that your conclusion? Like, you say all of that, and your conclusion is, so we're going to let the district deal with this? I'm going to tell y'all something. Ain't no way in hell, in any other situation, that the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the police run a sting operation, find out that somebody is committing a felony, and then be like, yeah, let's go ahead and kick that shit down in the district. What? Bro, what? Now, this lady is extra special because right before all this went down, there was some people who felt some type of way about her ability to be a U.S. attorney. And these people were judges. Yeah, judges. This is from the Society for the Rule of Law. More than 100 judges, y'all. More than 100 judges. Said that attorney appointee Sigal Chattah is unfit for office. In a powerful show of support for the rule of law, 116 former judges signed a letter to Chief U.S. District Judge Andrew Gordon of Nevada and his district court colleagues. The letter urges them to resist former President Trump's attempt to bypass constitutional checks and appoint Sigal Chattah as U.S. Attorney for the District of Nevada. Chattah is known for her incendiary rhetoric and a record of urging weaponization of law enforcement for political ends. Two bipartisan watchdogs, Democracy Defenders Action and Society for the Rule of Law Institute, spearheaded the letter, which was submitted on Monday to the court by retired federal judges and state judges, including those who were nominated by both parties. Y'all, this was done on July 29, 2025. July 29th, 2025, not 2024. Yeah, the July that just passed, y'all. In other words, a bunch of courts got together, or excuse me, a bunch of judges got together from both parties, from both sides of the political aisle, and they all said, hell nah, she ain't the one. All of them agreed on this. Not even 3 weeks ago. This sting operation, ladies and gentlemen, they said it was a 2-week operation. So sometime in between the time they said she was unfit to be a U.S. attorney and the time that this Tom Alexandrovich was arrested for being an accused pedo, they all agreed that she was unfit for the job, and then she goes on to prove that she was unfit and is unfit for this job. Why is this woman making decisions? And she's an acting, by the way, she's an acting U.S. attorney. She wasn't even elected. So she's acting. This man is now, we're expecting, y'all, this is Israel we're talking about. We're expected to believe that she kicked this down to the district. They gave him a $10,000 bail only, and we don't even know who paid it. By the way, a proposito, we don't even know who paid the bail. Was it? Because think about it. Was it the Israeli government or somebody who works for the Israeli government? And if that was the case, that means you knew he was arrested, which means you knew he wasn't detained, which means the story you put out was deliberately misleading and therefore a lie. Right? Okay. But then it just so happens to turn out that there was actually a crusade against this specific U.S. attorney who is an Israeli citizen. Right before this Israeli citizen gets to go home a week before his court appearance. And we're supposed to believe that he's going to come back. And we're supposed to believe that there are going to be consequences if he doesn't come back. Right, really, guys? Bro, I cannot stress enough how it just clearly looks like there's some rules that apply to some of us and don't apply to this one very specific group. I'm not going to say it's Zionist, but it's Zionist. And if you're Israeli, oh, sugar on top. But it doesn't even matter if you're Israeli because, like I talked about in my hotspot video, there is an American that killed a Mexican teenager. Okay, his father paid to get him sent to Tel Aviv. This was in 1997. He paid for him to get him sent to Tel Aviv. And within that same time frame, he got him an Israeli passport, which means he turned him into an Israeli citizen within that same time frame. Before the case, the person who helped him kill Alfredo Thayer, that was the name of the teenager, 17-year-old who was killed. The person that helped him killed himself in jail because they knew that they were guilty. He knew they were going to be found guilty. That's how much. That's why the dad went out of the way to buy the passport and buy the plane ticket, send him to Tel Aviv so he can hide and get him the passport because they knew he was guilty and he was going to get caught. It was too much evidence. But so the other kid, unfortunately, was not part of this tribe. So he ended up in jail, killed himself. Lord, we don't know where Shamban is at right now. Probably still in Israel, hiding out. So like I said, the judge needs to be reprimanded because this is not usually how things go when it comes to this type of situation. The U.S. attorney, she obviously should have been gone. All these judges, it's like a bipartisan consensus of 115, 116 judges are like, yo, hell no. She really shouldn't be doing this job. And then when she got the job, it's like, man, this could be the biggest case of your career. This is a career-making case. And she's like, nah, kick that shit down to the district. I don't want nothing to do with it. Kick it down to the district. I don't want nothing to do with it. Yeah, okay. Man, rules for thee, but not, or rules for me, but not for thee. Interesting that, huh?